7, and the senator from New Jersey is recognized.
Mr. President, the Senate is not in order.
The senator is correct. Senator may proceed.
Mr. President, this amendment is about justice and restitution. 21 years ago, on a cloudless morning in 2001, nearly 3,000 Americans, including 750 from my home state of New Jersey, were senselessly murdered in the terrorist attacks on September 11th. 9/11 families are the reason why Never Forget continues to be a clarion call in this Congress. They are the reason we seek a vote on the Fairness for 9/11 Families Act. I do this alongside Senators Cotton and Sullivan, who worked with me to bring justice and relief to also the 1983 Beirut Marine Barracks bombing victims and so many other Americans who have suffered at the hands of state sponsors of terrorism. Our amendment is straightforward. It expands coverage of the U.S. Victims of State-Sponsored Terrorism Fund to deliver justice and relief to previously excluded 9/11 families who, because of this exclusion, lost out on the ability to get some of the compensation, as well as the families of the victims of the Beirut Marine Barracks bombing and the Khobar Tower attack. Many of these families have waited for years, in some cases decades, for relief. And that's what we seek today. I believe that we can take a voice vote. Turn to Senator Whitehouse to yield to him for a moment. I know he wants to speak to it.
Colleagues, I just wanted to say on behalf of Senator Reid and myself that we urge a yes vote from Rhode Island in memory of the 9 Rhode Islanders who perished in the Beirut bombing blast on that deadly day. A yea vote and a voice vote.
The majority leader.
I want to thank Senator Menendez and Senator Cotton, another good example of bipartisan progress. Families have been left out in several different instances who are victims of terrorism, who have had relatives victims of terrorism. We are saying we stand by you. Let's vote. Let's vote by voice.
Our amendment achieves a simple goal desired by all of us: equal treatment for all the 9/11 Beirut Marine Barracks bombing families and all victims of terrorism. To those families, we know that nothing we do here can assuage your grief or replace your loss, but we pray that this action by your Congress on behalf of your fellow citizens will serve as a reminder that we hold you close in our hearts and we pray for your comfort. As a show of our support and love for these families, I suggest that the Senate accept the amendment by voice vote.
Mr. President,
The senator from...
we all have a great deal of sympathy for the firemen, the policemen, those first responders who responded to 9/11. But like most things government does or gets involved with, they've completely disturbed and destroyed who we're actually helping here. The definition of Victims Fund also includes anybody in Manhattan at the time. So really, Donald Trump is part of this fund as well. Anybody who is in Manhattan is part of this fund. So you dilute what you're actually trying to do, helping first responders, by making your fund so large, so ill-defined that everybody in Manhattan can apply for your fund. That's why you're short of money. That's why we spend $1.7 trillion in this bill, and yet we come back. Last vote was for $1 billion. This is for another $4 or $5 billion. There is no end to this, but it's because government does a poor job of trying to define who they're actually helping.
The question is on the amendment. All those in favor?
Consent. There's a unanimous consent order in agreement. I asked for the yeas and nays, but I don't think you have to. Because there's
Has
a consent
anybody
agreement.
asked for the yeas and nays? You just did. Is there a sufficient second?
I ask unanimous consent that the 60-vote threshold be vitiated with respect to this amendment.
Is there objection?
Yeas and nays.
Objection, sir. Yeas and nays. Is there a sufficient second? There is. Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Bennett.